my friends and people I love and care about deeply have been
And I
sexually
get a
assaulted as
call
well.
that's like, please come, please come.
I
please
mean, I
help me,
carry
be
a
with
knife
me.
with me now, and
It was like right at puberty
and I'm almost
when the
21, and
sexual
I'll be
harassment started,
getting a pistol
or even
license.
before.
Notably, it's
And I feel
been
like
in
it's
environments
just a
where
standard
I
thing.
considered myself to be in a safe environment.
My first semester here in 2018, I went to a social event. I was sexually assaulted by a guy in the organization that I was hosting. It's definitely happened to several of my friends. I know when I went through the OSARP process after reporting my case to Title IX, I did end up losing my trial, and it was definitely super hard to deal with mentally and physically as well, to the point it drove me to a suicide attempt several months later. I definitely think JMU should look more into the evidence that occurs and the testimonies. A student or two who maybe work for OSARP on the board would definitely help a lot, just so you can see it from a student's perspective instead of just faculty who are trying to save the reputation of JMU.
It was on Halloween, and I was at a frat, and some guy was like, can you come upstairs? Like, I need to talk to you right now. The guy was fully aware that I was not a girl, and he just raped me in his frat room, and I had to go home and just act like nothing happened. We'll walk around campus and we'll see these guys, and we can't make a big scene out of it because a lot of people are going to take the guy's word. I reached out to the dean of students with my situation, and I reached out to the counseling department. It felt like no one was there at the time, but I wasn't getting the support to move on and recover from those experiences.
SASV is, I mean, we are a club, but we like to recognize ourselves as a coalition. Like, there's a group that does policy that meets with Tim Miller just to discuss stuff like Title IX regarding sexual violence around campus. Title IX just went through a whole revision by Betsy DeVos, and that it completely screwed it up. And so part of it isn't JMU's fault, because it's just they have to follow it. And I know one of the biggest new things too is that if an assault happens off campus, even if it's by a JMU student, Title IX cannot intervene. Like, that's not something they can control, but some of it they can, and I think JMU could do better.
Regardless of whether someone's in college or not, what we know is most people are harmed by people that they know. And that's really hard. And it's really hard to think that the people that you trust and that you're friends with and stuff could also be the ones that harm you.
I've been dating someone for about 3 months. There were several instances where he admitted to having lied and manipulated me early on in our relationship to get me to trust him. And I ended up exchanging numbers with his roommate because both of us had no idea what was going on. When I kind of saw how much he'd been manipulating me and pushing me around, I did break up with him. I get a text from his roommate saying my ex is incredibly drunk. He is in our dorm room now, just drinking and screaming. He is threatening to rape you. I think you need to call the police. I just immediately burst into tears. It was terrifying. I also called the police and filed an official report, JMU police, and they said they would go check on him. That didn't do anything. We contacted the Title IX office. They basically gave us something very similar, which was, yeah, we can instate a no contact order, but we can't enforce it. But that was something that was never resolved for me.
Almost every female friend I have has been harassed or assaulted. Some of them with like worse stories than others. This sounds really awful, but it's just like a standard part of female life. There's an attitude at almost every school that it's more just kind of sweep it under the rug, throw a few resources at her, than actually punish the guy.
I think they have made some progress. I don't think they've made enough. I mean, the other thing was my experience with the Title IX office. There's so little that they can do. I don't think the administration always hears us when we say that we're being hurt. And I think that things should change. We need to be protected.
I was at a function for my club. He came up to me, started walking towards me, and it was hard because he's supposed to represent the club. And he just grabbed me and pulled me up against him and started trying to take me away from a bunch of people. I hadn't had anything to drink. My friends were there. My boyfriend at the time was there. I talked to someone who was on the executive board of the club, and I was like, this happened, and they're like, yeah, that's something that we would expect from him. And I did try going to Title IX. The woman that I talked to kind of discouraged me from continuing, just because, it was like, oh, this is going to take really long and it could go into the summer and it may not even, you may not even have anything to go off of and you don't have any witnesses or anything. But I later found out that he's going to be a teacher.
The OSARP process before was definitely horrible, and it took so long. The hearings are long and they go late. But now the issue is, since we have a new president and those new laws, it's seeing how JMU is handling these cases. JMU is still trying to figure out the implementation of all of them right now, so it's kind of iffy. So that it's definitely been a struggle of us trying to talk to administration and OSARP and seeing how they're handling it, because it's still relatively new to them.
There's some stuff that JMU can alter, and there's some stuff that legally we cannot alter. The current changes are not as beneficial for survivors as we would like them to be, to say the least. So we're definitely keeping an eye on the Title IX changes, and we're sticking with it, staying posted. So if there's any changes, we're going to be kind of communicating that to the community.
And I just wish that the school can not only take into the awareness, but educate the students and the staff about how problematic it is for everyone. The school may take a long time to change, but I still believe that it can. Maybe even after I graduate, maybe it'll change before I graduate. But what matters is that the students feel safe. The students can feel safe enough to explore themselves as individuals and as students.